There's barriers to even getting the money, and then you have to have the good fortune of your themes and your issues being aligned with those of the funders. And sometimes you have a brilliant film, but if they're not aligned, if the stars aren't aligned, find the day job.
This whole issue of funding is a very big issue for us. We did very well, but why did we do well? And we had a well-made film, but the issue for us is that the funders had diversified. So that means when I walk into Ford, or I walk into MacArthur, and I know it's a new world, it's post-racial, but that's not for me. If the funder doesn't hear and feel my story, they don't finance it. They got to go to bat for it. So when I was at Ford, the program officer was in tears, and he began to talk about his son in Brookline Public Schools. And he says, they're not going to fund this here, but I'm going to cobble some funds together at this organization, and you work with us and we'll get this funded. Now that didn't happen in one place, it happened at 6. And almost every funder was of color and had the same story about inequity.
So I come from the funder side of things. And it's an interesting dialogue because from April of last year to December, my group moved about 500 cold submissions for projects. I mean, there were so many great projects that just, for whatever reason, we just couldn't fund. And we get involved with projects because they resonate with Paul and our organization and what our core initiatives are.
What we did with our film is we made 40 films out of that. Many of them a minute long, 3 minutes long. We have 5 20-minute versions. We did that, 1, because we wanted to reach an audience. 2, we had a crowdfunding campaign, which allowed us to raise about $50,000 early in the process so we can have our trailer and we could get to ITFA. But what it also did is created a demand out there for teachers. Teachers began to use our site as a source to learn. Parents began to go to the site. And something that people don't talk about, we had in the first year, we had 200 requests from schools around the country to visit and screen the film. Really, what it was is that we began to work with that audience, and that audience wanted to show it to their neighbors, their fellow teachers. And we began to cultivate that with a newsletter. So every time we saw the film, we would capture the data and some demographic data, and we had 10,000 people we were speaking to on a monthly basis. So every time the newsletter comes out, 20 new schools would ask to screen. And so there's a downside to this, and I'm not saying everyone can do this, but if you're not thinking in these terms, how many films are going to be on POV? 25?
I wanted to make 2 points, which is Kickstarter is a great way for filmmakers who can't find funding and other platforms, not just Kickstarter, but really understanding short form and a way to leverage your ultimate long form documentary if that's your end game. And really, I know it's hard being a filmmaker at heart and having been there, not wanting to see your message get sort of truncated, but there's a lot of value in dissecting it in a way that pushes it out and creates buzz and raises awareness educates and informs people, and you've got to be your own best advocate, so you got to get out there and, as I like to say, sell the shoes.